I'm David Ainsworth, Head of Communications at the United Nations Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity. In today's Substa 26 Biodiversity Beat interview, we're talking to Linda Krueger of the Nature Conservancy. Now, Linda, I've got your title as the Director of Biodiversity and Infrastructure Policy.
That's correct.
That's right. Great. Welcome.
Yes.
Good for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks so much. This is a pleasure. Honor.
So today, let's put it this way. Throughout Substa 26, we've been having a lot of discussions about the monitoring framework. Really intense discussions and pointed ones. Can you tell our viewers, why is it important to get this framework and these indicators right?
Thank you. Yeah, the indicators are absolutely essential to knowing whether we're making progress, obviously. And the challenge of this convention has always been kind of a lack of clear specificity on what countries need to do to save biodiversity, right? Because it's such a complex thing with so many elements. We have 23 targets we agreed on at COP15. They cover a lot of different aspects. We have to achieve all of them to save biodiversity, to make progress. And so we need to figure out like what needs to be done and how we're going to measure that. And that needs to be figured out in every single country and for every single target. So each country has to have their national targets and they have to figure out how to measure that. So yeah, the indicator framework is not quite complete. Great work has been done on that. We've been working on this for what, you know better than me, 20-something years, trying to really figure out how to measure biodiversity. But because it is so complex, we have a lot of different indicators. And so finding that right balance between an indicator framework that's so complex that it's not really feasible and one that doesn't, you have to have enough indicators to really measure progress. So that's where we are now. So important to get that right, and that's why these discussions are so important right now.
So with that, where do you think there's been progress made? Because they've definitely made progress on it. What are some of the positive signs of how we've been moving on that framework?
So with all the remote sensing information that we have now, it's really exciting that we can measure things that we couldn't measure before. We're even getting to the point where you can assess the quality of a lot of ecosystem types using remotely sensed data, which we've never had before. You always had to do ground truthing, right? So now we're starting to get to the point where for things like targets on restoration, targets on protection, targets on ecosystem quality and function, you're starting to get to the point where a lot of that, we have the tools to measure that on a fairly regular and routine basis. And I think we've made a lot of progress on those. You know, the tough ones are always the ones that involve social processes, and you know, the one that the Nature Conservancy has been very keen on is Target 14 on mainstreaming, for example, where we really don't have an indicator to really measure how are we mainstreaming biodiversity in all the different parts of our economy and sectors. There's just no way to really know whether we're making progress, and so there's a lot of work to be done there still.
Okay, so between now and COP16, where do you think we need to do our efforts in this area?
Well, the most important thing is that parties agree on the enhanced framework that was built by the ad hoc technical expert group, right? So we have a refinement of the monitoring framework that was adopted at COP. Something needs to come out of this meeting that clearly endorses an enhanced framework, and that needs to be approved by COP16 so countries know that they have a set of indicators that they're clearly going to report under. But I think there has to be a continuing process to work on those mainstreaming indicators in particular, and to fill some other gaps in the framework to make sure that we can measure all of the targets, not just a couple.
Yeah, mainstreaming really is important. It's one of the main, in my mind, one of the main innovations of what we got in this. So, understood.
Yeah,
Great.
right,
Okay.
Totally.
Well, good luck, because I think you've got more contact group time that you're going into.
Yes, a lot of contact groups,
exactly.
a lot of late nights already, and we're just getting started. So.
Well, thanks for joining us here, and let's talk again at COP16 and see how things have moved between then and now and then.
Let's do that. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.